Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's Isabel Black, or Izzy the Intentional Healer, and we are here today at the library in Monticello in West Shawnee for Activate Your Power Now. So today we're talking about true wisdom, and we have the wonderful Evie Bowen guest emceeing today, the healer of queens. So we're in for a treat, and we're in for a treat with our speakers today. But I just wanted to take a moment and kind of just remind everybody what Activate Your Power Now is. So it's exactly what you hear. It's about being activated, and there's many ways to be activated, right? We get activated from emotionally, we can get activated physically, spiritually. There's so many ways to get activated. What we like to focus on here is activating your story. Everybody has a story, but a lot of people have shame attached to their story. They hide behind their story. They don't feel safe talking about their story or sharing it. And that's what we like to consider ourselves, a safe place to tell your story and release all of the unserving things that are attached to you in your story, because your story is powerful. It's meant to be powerful. It's meant to lead you into your divine purpose. So again, I'm Isabel Black with Activate Your Power Now. And I just wanted to remind everybody, we have 2 events every month, one on the second Wednesday of every month in Kansas City, Missouri at 7 p.m. And the Saturday after that, we come to Johnson County and we pour into you guys. So please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Activate Your Power Now, and subscribe to us on YouTube. I want to also say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and all of the fathers that are here today. We have a couple fathers speaking and just pouring into everybody. So again, let's honor all of our fathers and make sure you say Happy Father's Day to a father today or tomorrow, and just show them some love, show them some extra love. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Evie's going to go ahead and come up and get the ball rolling.
Thank you. Good morning. I want to welcome everybody and just thank Izzy for that wonderful introduction. We're talking about true wisdom. And today, has everybody ever heard the Serenity Prayer? Yes. Can we do it with me, or do we have to just be guided? God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and the wisdom to change the things I can. The wisdom to change the things I can. Wisdom is sitting there and deciding that you're going to put in the work. Wisdom is not something that you can just have. Wisdom is not something you can go to Walmart and get. Wisdom is something you have to put in the work and be intentional. Intentional about seeking God's wisdom. Intentional about seeking wisdom from wherever your source believes in. Intentionality and wisdom go hand in hand. It says to accept the things I cannot change. To be able to accept the things you cannot change, you have to be willing to know that there are things that are out of your control. Yes, wisdom requires knowing when you have to move back and let something else step in. Yeah. Wisdom is about getting to a place where you allow you to no longer be in control, but let yourself be controlled by the purpose that is driven in your life. Mm-hmm. So wisdom is what we're talking about today. I have 3 speakers coming up today, and they are powerhouses. They are representations in their community. I want you all to be able to come into this space and know that we are here believing and understanding that this is a safe space. We want them to have the freedom to show their level of wisdom, what wisdom believes to them, whatever they believe wisdom to be, and how they got there. Sometimes people always want to get to the good part. Everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to hurry up. Yeah. But everybody wants to do all these things. Everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to put the work in. Yes. The people I have coming up today, they're going to show you how to put the work in and how to get to your wisdom and what you need. So the first speaker I have coming up is Tokyo. He is close and dear. He is very much so a powerful speaker. And when he comes up with a light to be embracing himself. When he comes to the stage, he lets you know that first and foremost, I have arrived. I had to get here and I had to take a long route. And every bump along the way meant something. So as we guide ourselves up to the level of wisdom, I want to welcome Tokyo to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful introduction. And forgive me, I'm a walker, so we make sure I stay in my frame here. Sometimes wisdom is making sure that you make sure of what you can and cannot do. Anyways, welcome everybody. Nice to meet you all again and be in this space amongst powerful individuals that have put in the work of self-understanding, self-adaptation, self-actualization, making sure that we are able to take what we have learned from the lives we have lived and where we are at in order to facilitate a change in the future that we want for ourselves. And that in itself requires wisdom. See, when I start, I don't start conventionally. I start unconventionally, because if I do what everybody else has done, how can I be wise enough to essentially stand out and leave something that's going to be impactful for you? Well, to do that, I need to do something a little different. So wisdom for me is not necessarily about old age and about being, the person with all the answers. What I've found is wisdom is actually being the person that makes the most mistakes. Because if I was wise, I would essentially be somebody who has done enough bad things to then let others know what not to do. See, wisdom to me is kind of, I'm going to be honest with you. Wisdom brings up a stirring, some negativity, because I've always been somebody that's tried to look for the shortcut. I was somebody that wanted to be able to get there, as she said earlier. I didn't want to put in the work. Just let me get there because I want to feel good about my life. I want to be able to just have it and then tell my friends, look at me now. I didn't want to go to the gym. 50% of the time, I don't want to be in the gym. I just want to look like Jason Momoa. I just go to sleep and wake up. And I say this because when we try to cheat life, it is the opposite of wisdom. Because we're unwilling to go through the necessary experiences to cultivate the results. And if you know anything about wisdom, wisdom is all about results of cultivation that are mental gyms that allow you to do something with knowledge of the outcome from the other side of doing the opposite thing. If we do not cultivate the opportunity for experience, not only are we cheating ourselves on life, so that when we reach that old age, we're able to look back and smile at the life we lived. We also hinder ourselves from being a utility for the world around us, our social circles, our family and friends. Wisdom is meant to be shared. Yes. But we cannot share in knowledge and in truth if we eliminate the opportunity for that to be implemented. See, wisdom is all about implementation, as she said before. But if you do not implement experience, what you're doing is falsifying your actions, which is cheating yourself out of a wonderful life. See, abundance can't be had without sowing seeds. And wisdom allows us to know what seeds to sow, right? It is also knowing the environment in which those seeds can be put in. Oftentimes, we put ourselves in environments where we cannot grow and take necessary actions to create the experience in order to be where we want to be. This is sometimes a falsehood because, again, like myself, we try to force life to get us where we want to be or to find the shortcut. And sometimes shortcuts go down back alleys. Sometimes shortcuts leave you with a flat tire. Sometimes shortcuts leave you a little bruised. And not just bruised physically, it bruises your ego. And sometimes wisdom is having the ability to acknowledge when you messed up. But if you're looking for a shortcut, and if you're living through life with ego eliminates the opportunity for wisdom because ego says, I'm always right. Or worse, ego makes you the victim. And victimhood eliminates the opportunity for learning a lesson because that's not my lesson to learn. It's their fault. Life did this to me. When? But where does that get you? Where does victimhood get you? Now, I'm going to speak to the men here. Extreme ownership gives us a superpower to take responsibility for everything, even the things that isn't our fault. Because when we take responsibility for everything, if this building caught on fire, it's my fault. Well, that's crazy, Tokyo. Why would you say that? Because I should have had a better smelling nose to catch, hey, there's something isn't right. Hold on a second. And eliminate the damage that could take place at this wonderful library. Right? Sounds crazy. But think about that truly. If you take extreme ownership, man, in your life, from the relationships that you've had, from the people that you've met, from the grades you got in high school, from where you're at right now, to the accident where somebody else hit you, by taking extreme ownership, this changes the paradigm of your life, because how you view it puts power in your hands. Now your brain is coming up and facilitating new ways for you to do things differently, or look at something completely different that allows you to have a different outcome, or facilitate changes within yourself to create a different outcome. But that was a little tangent that I wanted to go on, because it's so important in my life right now, extreme ownership. And I'll say this. Extreme ownership has a way of going right into wisdom. What I found for myself is that by taking ownership in things that aren't even my fault, I gain wisdom through patience and increased perception. The perception of my life normally is very narrow-minded. When I learn from other people's stories and lessons, it goes here. When I take extreme ownership on something that's not my fault, what that does, by eliminating ego, allows me to grow that perception even more, grow that awareness even more, right? And that's just kind of a small example of what that can do for yourself if you decide to go down that path and learn about how do I take extreme ownership for things that aren't my fault, so that I can create abundance within myself and within my life to facilitate being a, what's the Bible say? Being a good steward, okay? Now, as I begin to kind of wrap this up, how can I put this to you? In your life, there are aspects of yourself that you might have still a lack of, you might be lacking self-forgiveness. In your life, there might be areas of shame. There might be areas of guilt. I want you to write those down. Make a list this weekend. Write down where do you feel bad about your life? Where do you feel you've let yourself down? Where are the opportunities of growth in your life right now? And I want you to ponder those things, those situations. I want you to ponder that list. And I want you to do this because there's an exercise that I tried that worked very well for me. As you write these things down, I want you to then, next to each one, state the feeling next to that experience. Shame, guilt, sadness, sorrow, anger. Write those down. And then what I want you to do is process each one of those situations within that emotion. Allow that emotion to be experienced within inside yourself. Next to that emotion, write whether or not, could I have changed it or could I have not? Could I have changed it? Yes, could I have not? When you experience the emotion and it was something you could not change, I want you to process the emotion and ask for forgiveness. When you go on one of the lists, when you go on that list and you see something that you could have changed, I want yourself to give yourself permission to move forward. When there's something that you could have done, that anchor keeps you from moving forward in your life because you replay it in your head. I know, I was on hyperdrive. I messed up on my second run and I replayed in my head every time. That I could have gone further in the series if I had just checked my tire pressure. Same thing for you. If you were able to do something about it, give yourself permission to move forward and allow that emotion to be your fuel to move forward. And again, the things that you could not change, give yourself forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness from yourself. And from this, I do believe you will gain wisdom and cultivation to be able to allow those experiences to change the way you do things in the future. And with that, my friends, I believe I'm close to out of time. Thank you.
That was amazing. I love that. The seed and building on the wisdom. allowing yourself. So I want you to take time and think about that. Let's give that a second for a moment. Being able to write a list out of all the things and then be able to process those things. Sometimes we forget that we're allowed to have emotions. One thing that I hear a lot in the line of work that I do is men were not allowed to cry. They're not allowed to feel. And I think on the eve of Father's Day, we should say it is a loud, no one wants a stone wall as a protector because the walls can come down. We want to have the ability to deal with every emotion possible, anger, strife, all of those things. The problem is that we learn to forgive those things, and then we forget that we have to forgive ourselves too. Sometimes we forgive the people what they did to us, but we forgot how we put ourselves in situations where we weren't forgiven by ourselves. And then I want to take a step further. Once you do the forgiving process of that, I want to go a little step further and say, why not then take it out back? Go to that barbecue grill that I know every father has outside. And how about we light that list on fire? Sometimes we hold on to things and then we want to keep repleting them. And then you go back to that list and you sit there and dwell on it. Well, this thing's still. And we keep forcing ourselves into dealing with those emotions over and over again. When sometimes the source and God and Spirit is saying, let it go.
Yes.
How can I forgive it if I keep bringing it up? I can't forgive it if I keep saying, well, so-and-so did this to me and such did this to me. And I got the wisdom that says I'm okay now. But I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to hold it. So next time I want to feel this, so next time I want to deal with this, I'm going to hold it. Let it go. Sometimes we bind ourselves and we kill our seed that we are supposed to give birth to because we decided to hold on to the seed and keep it in the cup. If you never buried it, if you can't let it go and let it grow, how can you move on? Show wisdom in your forgiveness and let go. The next person I have coming up is Corey Fox. He deals with all kinds of things and all kinds of aspects, but what he deals with is young youth. He comes and tries to get them into a place where they have alignment. A lot of us grew up in places where everything was everywhere. He shows them alignment. He teaches them that it is okay to be a man. It is okay to survive what you overcame. It's okay not to be what they call you. It's okay to answer to who you know you are. Corey's life and his things that he has gone through has shown him his purpose. And instead of holding on to his purpose, like we just talked about, letting it go, he has moved past what had him bound and he is teaching people to be free. The next one up is Corey, and he's going to talk about his wisdom.
Thank you. But right now, thank you, Izzy. Thank you for just being a part of this Activate Your Power. Just a second. But I do want to use wisdom right now. And, I'm going to use wisdom because I don't want to get in trouble after this. So I just want to tell you, baby, I love you. And happy born day. Happy another year around the sun today.
Yeah.
Happy life.
Yes.
Happy wife, happy life. Yeah. But I really thank God for this opportunity. She started out with the serenity prayer, and on the way down there, I was just thinking about the serenity prayer. So she said, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and the wisdom to know the difference. But I want to go back to the beginning. It said who?
God.
It said who?
God.
So if we want to have wisdom, we got to go to the person who is wisdom.
Yes.
You cannot have wisdom unless God grants you the wisdom.
Yeah.
Because it says, let him who has eyes to see and let him who has ears to hear. But who's the him that we're talking about here? If you're really digging deep on wisdom and we don't have it, so it said, God grant me and wisdom to know the difference. So first and foremost, it's got to be the God in you to give you the wisdom for you to even know what wisdom is. So, and I want to take you back. So if you don't have God in you and you're not searching and seeking for God, then you can never have wisdom. You can never have wisdom if you don't seek God. Let me give you an example. And she talked about purpose. I'm going to go back to my example, but sometimes I got to slow down because there's a lot of things that's going on in my mind that God has been giving me. I write things down, but then when I get here, it doesn't even go the way that I thought I planned it to go. Because again, I'm not controlling anything. It's the God in me that's controlling the things that I say, the things that I do, because he gives it to me first. And then it's up to me to take action on what he's given me. See, the wisdom told me that my life was messed up. That's what wisdom was telling me. My life was messed up. See, and I had to know the difference between the right and the wrong. See, I was out there so much that I didn't believe that I could be anything else because I had got so far away from God, who is wisdom, that I got too tangled up with the devil. Or got too tangled up in my father, with my father. See, we got a father. Come on, God, give me some more. We got a father, and then you might have a stepfather. Who's your stepfather? That's the question I want to ask you. And who's your father? See, your father is the one who created you. See, we're talking about Father's Day tomorrow, and we're talking about Father's Day, but the real Father's Day is to the one who created you. That's the one who we should be giving reverence to and praise to and glory to and for an honor to, is that Father. Because without him, we are nothing.
Nothing.
See, your stepfather is when you're not aligned with the Father that your true Father, your heavenly Father. See, your stepdaddy would be the one that when you're out here lying, stealing, cheating, drugs, alcohol, all those things that you know that you're not supposed to be doing, that God didn't create you to be. Now you with your stepdaddy. And that would be your father, the father of lies. See, if you would understand your purpose in life, that's true wisdom. And the only way that you can know your purpose in life is if you got to go back to the one who gave you the purpose in the first place. Let me give you an example. If you had a car, let's say Ford, found on road dead, fixed or repaired daily, because that's us. We either found on the road dead and we need fixing and repairing on a daily basis. So if you had a Ford and you took it and your car broke down, you had a mechanic, he always fixed your car. And you take it to him and he says, man, cool, I can't fix this car. I can't fix it. I don't know what's wrong with it. Are you going to throw the car away? You going to just trash the car? What are you going to do with the car? That's the question. What would you do with the car if your mechanic that usually fixes your car says that I can't fix it? What are you going to do with the car? You're going to go take it back to the one who created the car. You're going to take it to the manufacturer. Why? Because they created the car. They will find out what's wrong with the car because they made the car. Well, if you have problems in your life and you're trying to change your life, then wisdom tells you to go back to the one who created you in the first place because he knows what's wrong with you. So if you want to know and want to be fixed, you got to go back to the one who created you in the first place. And that will be your God. Because he knows what you're going through. He knows what you're dealing with. Stress, drugs, alcohol, where I came from. It wasn't that I didn't believe in God. I just pulled away from God. And I let the devil or the enemy be my father. But then he told me to return to your first love. Yeah. See, sometimes in life, we try to fix things on our own. And we have to have the wisdom to know the difference. What is that wisdom, though? Where do we get it from? You don't possess it. You don't have it. It has to be given to you. God has to grant you that wisdom because he's controlling everything. He's controlling everything. So before I don't know how much more time I got, but I want to give you 5 words of wisdom before I go. 5 words of wisdom. And the first one is enjoy the journey. Whatever your life is on, good or bad, because our struggles is what's leading us to our purpose. It's our struggles that's going to lead us to our purpose. We might have many gifts, we might have many talents, but through those struggles is where we find our purpose. So enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey and make sure that God is head of your life. He says, first ye seek the kingdom of God, and then all things to be added unto you. He did not say some. He did not say a few. He did not say a little bit. He said all things, but you got to seek him first. So what are the things we're seeking after? That's the first thing that we should be thinking about. What are we seeking after? Because if it's not aligned with your purpose, then you're seeking after something that's not good for you in the first place. So enjoy the journey. Don't get caught up in, I'm not here yet, or I haven't got to where I need to be. Enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, but make sure you have God first in that journey. And the process and the journey will be a little bit easier. The walk will be a little bit easier. The second one is, I love this one. Find your purpose. Find your purpose. You say, well, how do you find your purpose? How do you find your purpose? Well, you have gifts and talents. So you have gifts and talents, right? So you might have many talents, but the talents are not your destination. Your talents are not your destination. It's your transportation to get to your destination. That's the purpose. That's the purpose, is using your gifts and talents. That's not your destination. You might be a great singer. You might be able to do that, but that's not your destination. That's not your purpose. That's your transportation to get you to your purpose. So when you arrive to your purpose, you can say, thank you, God, for allowing me to get to my purpose, because I couldn't have done it without you. Yeah. So don't let that be your destination. Let it be your transportation to finding your purpose, your gifts and your talents. The next one is use your disasters. Use all your disasters, your struggles, your hiccups, your past, and use those things to get to your purpose. Use those things to uplift you. Use those things to make you say, hey, look, I was once here, but now I'm here. And I thank you, God, for my struggle, because it was in my struggle that I had to come and seek after you to find you. To know that you was always there, but I had to give you the glory, the honor, and the praise. And I had to start praising you in my struggle. So use your disasters, use your struggles, use your past things, though. Those things that, like me, I use my drug addiction. I use my drug addiction because I was in it for 20 years. But now I say, thank you, God. But I use that, my drug addiction and all the things that I was in, and alcoholism and all that, I use that to get to where I am today. Now I speak on those things to the youth and tell them, like, look, it doesn't matter where you started. It only matters where you end up. It don't matter where you start. It's where you're going to end. So the fifth thing is, this is my favorite right here. This is my favorite. And it should be everybody's favorite. The fifth one is to free your mind. Free your mind. You have to free your mind. Come out head first. Like a newborn baby. Because when my wife is pregnant right now. And we just went and had her sonogram done, and they said the baby, because she only got like about 7 more weeks left. And they said the baby's right where it needs to be. It's positioned right there, head down. So when your baby comes, the baby comes out. Because once you free your mind, once the baby comes out head first, everything else got to come with it. Everything, all the other parts come with it. So you got to free your mind. What do you mean free? It come head first. Free all that mental illness, that stress, that hate, that envy. You know, just because somebody said, oh, I can't, I ain't gonna get right until somebody, they gotta apologize to me first. They gotta apologize, because if they don't apologize to me, then I ain't gonna never forgive them. Well, then your mind ain't free.
Right.
Your mind's not free. Free your mind. Because once you free your mind, everything else starts to come together. I like to say that everything starts to click.
Yes.
Everything starts to click. So I know my time is down, and I wrote this last night. No, maybe a couple of nights ago, and I'm just because Tokyo gave us a great definition of wisdom, like he talked about ego. Your ego will get in the way, and when your ego start getting in the way, that means you're edging God out. You're edging God out. So now you won't have wisdom. Once you edge God out, your ego got in the way, you will not have wisdom because God is wisdom. You don't possess it, He is wisdom. And if you don't have Him, then you don't have wisdom. If you don't have Him, you don't have love. So how can you say you love me and you don't not even have God? And come on, somebody.
Yeah.
So if God is love and then you don't have love, then you don't have God. And without God, then you are nothing. So true wisdom is the ability to see beyond the surfaces of things, to understand the deeper truths that is beneath. True wisdom is not just about knowing what to do, but also having the compassion to do it. It's about treating others with kindness and respect and being a positive force in this world. That's what true wisdom have, a compassion, and you'll be a true force in this world. And that's what I would just say for you all. If you want wisdom, you have to go to God to get the wisdom. You don't possess it on your own because God is the source, the substance, the limits, the bounds of everything, including you. Yes, you are His prized creation. He lives within you. And then once He starts giving you wisdom in your brain, now you start coming out and then you start being God-like and showing that wisdom that He's given to you to give to this world. And that's what it's all about. And that was saying that I am. Thank you.
That was amazing, amazing, amazing. That is a true definition of wisdom. You have to align with your source and align with what is being poured into you. We have to be careful what we put inside of ourselves. We have to be careful how long we talk and speak negatively about ourselves. The one thing that Corey was saying, as far as he's aligning with things and teaching them that you have to start where you are, you can't, your been through is actually how you help other people get through. That's how you do it. If you don't be honest with yourself on what you came from. He spoke on something very honestly. He said about my substance abuse, about those things. I deal with those type of people every day. And the main time that they always feel is they're ashamed. Everything, they come in the room with their shame first. I'm this. I don't have nothing but this. This is all I am. And because we can't get past this first layer, we can't get to the surface of the seed of the purpose of everything that we have inside of us. Because you just come in the door with everything you've ever done wrong. But sometimes you need to change your mindset on that. What you did wrong, you survived. Everything up until this moment, for everyone in this room, that was sent here by legions to curse you, to stop you, to hinder you, all those things that you walk in the door with in front of you, they failed.
Yes, come on, girl.
Do you understand? They failed because you're still standing. You haven't taken your last breath. You're not sitting wondering where you need to be next. You're still here. And if you're still here, you haven't failed. So the mistakes that you're tripping over are just hindrance to stop you from getting to your purpose. The next person I have coming up is Gary. He is going to speak to us on his version of wisdom and what is coming from him. He comes from a level of all kinds of things, and he sits and he decides and he talks with children, and he talks with them about who they can be. And we don't teach them, he teaches them basketball, but he doesn't teach them how to be an NBA star. He teaches them how to be a star in their own life, how to be the stars that they've already built into, how to be the stars of who they are. And if we come to do that, he has to be the star of himself. Here's Gary.
Yes.
Oh, you're fine, bro. Good morning, everybody. I'm Gary Newsom, Coach G, known to most. I'm an entrepreneur. I guess I would say I started as I'm a warrior. And I think everything that I do is built out of being a warrior. Everything I say, everything I believe, everything I exist in is being a warrior. So that's what I'm going to speak from today. This is the journey of a warrior by any means necessary. and this is simply episode T.R.U.E, the reason you exist, which is wisdom. So as my brothers have so eloquently spoken today, how do I follow that? I mean, I'm like, why do I got to go last in that? But I'm up to the challenge. So I'm just going to dive into what I felt the Lord. And I've been stirring over this all week. I've been sick all week, but this is where I settled. And I made sure I wrote it down because I'm kind of foggy today, but I'm going to speak from my heart. So purpose. I got 5 points for you, but I know all of you guys touched on purpose. If you're going to talk about wisdom, we got to talk about purpose. Understanding the reason you exist can give you a sense of purpose and destiny, which can help you guide your decisions and all your actions. If you have no purpose, how do you know where you go? There's no roadmap. We've got to learn to understand that the journey is what's powerful. The journey's not the bad thing. I mean, I'm not saying the end result is the bad thing, but the strength, the growth, the power comes in the journey. We've got to learn to understand the journey is where we need to put all of our effort, all our time, all our energy, all our focus. That's where the fight is. Being the warrior, I've understood that. If I'm going to fight, I want to fight in the journey. I'll rest when I get to my destination, but I want to fight in the midst of the journey. So I have a homework assignment for all of you guys today, a simple one. So have you guys ever done a study of your name? Okay. The study of your name is a simple clue of who you are. It's divine. It's no coincidence that mom and dad named you who you are. Gary, guess what Gary means? Warrior. Tip of the spear. One who goes where no one else will go. Barrier breaker. Light. One who shines. Lee. What does Lee mean? My middle name. Regenerator. One who gets knocked down, but always gets back up. And I don't do that in my own strength or in my own power, as my brothers have said. I do that in the power and the strength of the Lord. So that's your homework assignment today. I want you guys to go back in, get a piece of paper, write down your first name, pull out a dictionary, pull down everything that you can find on your name. Then your middle name, do that on the back page. Write down everything that you can pull down on that name. And then compile those two pages into like maybe 2 to 3 sentences where you're making a proclamation of who you are. You're making a declaration to not only yourself, because do it in the mirror. Do it in the mirror and tell yourself, get up every day and declare to yourself who you are. But I want you to make that declaration to the world. Get up tomorrow morning and be ready to declare who you are. Gary Lee. I declare that to myself every day. I'll move on. The next point is compassion. Compassion. True wisdom involves compassion, empathy, and genuine concern for others, as well as a commitment to acting in ways that benefit society as a whole. It has to be about all of us. I guess in my journey of a warrior, I've learned compassion in a way, I don't know, that I've never learned before. I would say, as Corey eloquently said, the greatest compassion was shown by Jesus, by God, by him sending his son. John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. What better attribute of compassion and love could be shown? God literally bankrupted heaven and sent the best gift, offer that he could give for us. Stiff-necked, disobedient, broken, hard-headed people who turn their back on him again and again and again. And we get on our knees and we pray, Lord, give me all these things. God being the Father that he is, what does he do? He gives us those things in due time in some situations, but ultimately he gives us the desires of our heart, is what his word says. But then what do? We turn our back on him again. And I'm not just speaking to the people in the room or you, I'm talking to me. I've done it too. I'm just as guilty. But in his compassion for mankind, and make it personal, in his compassion for you, in his compassion for me, he sent his son to die on a cross, to be beaten beyond recognition, and to take on the sins of the world, take on my sins, personalize it. He took on my sins for me. I didn't deserve that, but he did it anyway. I'll move on. My next point, connection. Recognizing that you are part of a larger whole can foster a sense of connection and empathy with others, which can lead to greater wisdom and compassion. Connection has been one of the greatest things that I've learned on my journey, the journey of a warrior. I thought I had a tribe of people that had my back, that were my ride or dies, but I realized when things turned south, the people were gone. I realized what my value, my currency was to them. It was my gifts or my abilities to draw people or whatever that would advance their kingdoms. But what I've learned in my journey this time, as Corey, both of them said, is it's about him. When I really dialed in, and I'm a coach, I'm a basketball coach, and one of the things that I teach my children is the fundamentals. All of us go through that point in life where we struggle. A great shooter will get in a game and miss 10 shots in a row. In the next game, you might miss 8 shots in a row or whatever. And it gets in his head. And that's where the enemy puts us, in our head, on an island, all by ourselves, thinking that we're the only one going through these things. But I'm standing here today to tell you that the devil is a lie. What I learned in my pursuit and on my journey was connection. Vertical. It wasn't about, I was a great mighty man in church, and I'm not against church, but I was doing the work, the church's will, my pastor's will. I wasn't doing necessarily God's will because I knew what I was called to. And I knew some of those people, those great leaders that I served, didn't understand that. So I settled, I put my stuff down on the back burner, and I did what they wanted me to do. But I'm standing here today telling you, no, your connection is right there. It's a vertical connection, one-on-one with you and God. When you get that vertical connection with one-on-one with God, he will give you that people, that group, that tribe, as I call them. I can look around this room, and I'm standing in a room of my tribe. These are my rides or dies. I know when I'm down, when I'm hurting, when I need to be uplifted, I can call anyone in this room. I know there's plenty of you that are out there that I can call, and you'll have my back. So it's all about connection. My next point, integrity. A wise person is honest, ethical, and committed to living in accordance with their values. We live in a world where there's no values, there's no ethics, there's no integrity. Let me just ask you a question. Your word. What does your word mean? Really, real talk. Does anybody's word mean anything anymore? Does it? I remember the day growing up where people would say on a handshake, you didn't necessarily need a contract. When I built Warrior Hoops, I built it on this. As I grew in Warrior Hoops, I learned I had to do contracts. Legal contracts, because people didn't keep to their word. What happened to the day where I could extend my hand to my brother and my sister, and my word, as we used to say, my word is bond? Where did that go? Where did that go? But I'm really coming after the men and women of God, the church, the believers. Because just because the world has adjusted to that way doesn't mean that we adjust to that way. We have been called to a higher standard of wisdom. And if you're going to be a man or woman of God, you have to be a man or woman of God of integrity. Your word has to be bond. If you say the sky is blue, the sky has to be blue. If you're going to say you're going to be there at 10:30, you're going to be there at 10:30. If you tell your brother or your sister that you're going to pray for them, you've got to pray for them. No excuses. Where is the integrity? If you're going to be a wise woman or man of God, you've got to be a person of integrity. Knowledge, point 5. True wisdom requires deep understanding of the world and its workings, which comes from a combination of learning and experiencing. I guess some of the greatest things that are simple to me, and I'm all about being simple. We run plays in basketball, and the kids are always trying to do all the extra stuff. But it's always about being simple. So the knowledge that I've gained in my journey of a warrior is 2 simple things that I'll just throw at you. Self-care. How many of you out there have taken the experiences of your life and implemented self-care. We've talked about the drug addiction, alcohol addiction, porn addictions, whatever your vice is. We all have vices. And even gossiping or an addiction of being there for people, exhausting yourself. See, one of the things I used to always do is pour from an empty cup. I became everything everybody else wanted me to be. Everything. I was father, I was husband, I was brother, I was cousin, I was coach, I was dad to this one, dad to that one. Man of God over here, I'm coach over here, businessman. Whatever that person needed me to be, I became. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but imagine, and I did that in great power, but imagine now what I've learned in self-care, adding self-care, taking care of myself first, okay? Because that's true wisdom. God teaches us to rest. If he rested on the seventh day, why am I not resting? Why am I not taking care of myself? So I've learned to take a step back. Now, Gary Newsom 2.0, now I don't pour from an empty cup. I pour from a cup of overflow, a cup of abundance. And people might look at you and say, brother, you are full of yourself. And you know what my response is? Yeah, I am. And I don't say that from a place of arrogance. I say that from a place of knowledge and wisdom in knowing who I am because I know whose I am. Okay? Let me just close this. Ultimately, in my view, true wisdom is God, as Corey said, and comes from God. Let me say that again. True wisdom is God. It is him. You can't have wisdom outside of him. I'll take that back. You can have some sense of wisdom, the world's wisdom, or even your own wisdom, but you can't have true wisdom outside of God because he is God. He is wisdom, and all wisdom exudes out of him. You know what? It's a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift that he desperately wants to give to you, and all you have to do is ask. Lord, can I have wisdom? Solomon asked for wisdom. Could have asked. God asked him, what do you want, son? Asked him, what do you want? What do you need? What do you desire of me? And he gave him wisdom because that's what he asked for. Wisdom is greater than knowledge because it's deeper and more profound. And again, because it comes from God. Wisdom is rooted in the fear and the reverence of God. The fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom, as the word says. I'll say that again. The fear, and let me clean it up right there, because I don't want to be serving some God that I'm afraid of. He's not talking about that. Get that out your head, because the devil's a lie right there. He's not talking about being afraid of him. He's talking about reverence. Think about that man or woman in your life that you idolize, that you respect to the highest hilt. Well, we should take that up 1,000 notches because God is worthy of our honor, of our praise, of our glory. Reverence him. All wisdom starts there. Wisdom is reflected in how we live and how we move and how we have our being. So a person can really look at you. Honestly, real talk, I've learned that in my journey of the warrior by any means necessary. I've learned I can just look at a person now. There's a fool. Do I call him a fool? Nope. There's a fool. There's a person of wisdom. And I'm not calling them fool in a negative, attacking them. I just say they're absent of wisdom. They've adapted to the ways of the world and they're drone carbon copy of everything they see. There's no individuality in them. The devil is a lie. I want to be who God created me to be. Unapologetically. That's who I am. Finally, true wisdom involves seeking God's guidance in all matters and trusting him to lead you in the right and perfect direction. So I implore you today, if you want true wisdom, seek the source. Once you've sought the source and he's downloaded wisdom into you, now trust him. Simply lay back, sit in the cuff, and trust him. to lead and guide every step that you make. If you want true wisdom, go to the source. Everything else is an imitation, an imposter. The one thing the devil has done a mastery job of is imitating God and making people think that this is the way or that's the way. There's only one. There's only one. The one true living God. If you want true wisdom, seek the source. This is your boy, Coach G. Love you. And tribute to our fathers, happy Father's Day. My father has passed 3 years ago, and I honor him yet today. I am a father. I honor all the men of God that are out there that are doing the right thing, standing in the gap for their sons and their daughters. It's a masterful job that you've been called to, and God honors you, as do I.
Powerful, powerful. All three of our speakers were powerful today. From Tokyo, talking about removing the ego and moving into a level of forgiveness and aligning yourself. To Corey, bringing forth to know that there is purpose and you have to dig into your gifts to be able to go there. And then for Coach to round us up and let us know that there's only one true source, and whoever you're plugging into, if you're plugging into the wrong thing, you're going to get the cloned wisdom. We don't want that. We want genuine artifact. And so since we are made in the purpose and in his image, we ought to stick to things that are authentic and organic instead of things that are cloned and repetitive. The world itself will show us that the wisdom has something to do with gain or things that we can only use here. The earth is coming to an end at some point, and we've got somewhere else to be. So stop living like your residence here. We want to come into that place of wisdom and guide ourselves together. We thank you all for joining us this morning at Activate Your Power Now. You can go to our Facebook, Instagram, or what have you. Follow us and come up, be a part of us. We're at a movement and a union to where not only are we activating the power of the people that are around us, but we're trying to plant the seeds in the fertility of the earth so that we can activate the power. So when we go where we need to go, everybody is connected to us. Let your roots be planted in something that's worth having. We ask you for this and thank you. I want to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And I don't mean just the men who biologically, organically brought something here. I'm talking about the men that take the time to pour into something that didn't have to be theirs. I'm talking about the men that actually show up and say, hey, last I saw, you didn't have anybody walking alongside you. Let me come up here. Let me pull up alongside you. Parallel park and let's get through this thing together. I want to give reverence to the men who decided that pouring was something that they didn't have. I want to give reverence to the men that decided I want to be the adult that I didn't have when I was a child. I want to thank you all for coming and being a part of us. Activate your power now. Stop walking around powerless. The devil is a liar.
Yeah.
Thank you.